Well, look who just waltzed right into my podcast. If you're here, it's not an accident. This is the Look Up Podcast. It's a place where we discuss how to stay connected and looking up rather than living in the monotony and anxiety of the brain, looking down. We're going to dive into deep emotional healing, spiritual wisdom and experiences, and above all, how to reconnect and stay connected to God, nature, each other, and ourselves. Welcome to the Look Up Podcast. I'm your host, Harmony Sunshine. Hi, everybody. So I actually had a plan, something that's been stirring in me to talk about for a while, and stuff kept coming in my spirit, my mind, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll talk about this week, because most of my episodes have been pre-recorded from weeks, if not a month in advance. But I'm officially out of pre-recorded episodes. So this week, it's actually Sunday when I'm recording this, so this episode will be released tomorrow. But anyways, I'm like, okay, cool. There's this topic I want to talk about. I've got all these examples, blah, 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 and I definitely probably will talk about it at some point. But I sit down, I plug my laptop in, I get my candles lit, I get everything situated to have a good space to record, and my phone is playing music, and all of a sudden, The Fruitful Darkness by Trevor Hall comes on. And if you're very, very close to me, or if you were around me when this song was heavily impacting me, then you know that that song is, amazing. It's life-changing. It's a mantra. It's really, really beautiful. So I'm like, okay, the song's playing. I really like this song. It's not that long of a song, so maybe I'll just listen to it. But then I was like, no, Harmony, come on, let's go on and get going with the podcast, because I have plans today and whatever. And I was like, no, I'll let it finish, right? I'll just let the song finish. So, the end of the song says, "The dark within my dark is where I found my light. The fruit became a doorway, and now it's open wide." So the title of the podcast today, or the topic, I should say, I'm not sure if I'll title it differently, but is the blessing of breaking. So when that song found me, it was about this time last year, actually. Maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a month or less. Dynasty introduced me to Trevor Hall, and at first I didn't like his music, and I thought his voice was too much. I don't know. So it took me a while to come around to him, but then once I did, I found my own favorite songs, you know what I mean? So when that song came along, I had previously, a month or so before that, and months prior to that as well, been going through a really, really, really dark time. My depression was not doing good things for me. It was really intense, all spiraling from a lot of things, since a lot of our stuff is subconscious, and then it kind of comes up through situations as we allow it to. But the main trigger obviously was, that really painful breakup that I went through in 2020. And when the breakup started, I was obviously heartbroken and very, very, very confused, because it came out of left field is what it felt like. And it felt like, 1 week we're planning our wedding, and then the next week it's over. So I was very confused. And I really loved this person, and we were extremely connected in a way that I've never been connected to anyone before. read each other's minds, just like very, very like on the same like frequency of what, in that time of my life. And so I was very comfortable with him, and it really felt, like this is it for me. And like, I don't know, because we were so similar in certain ways, it felt, I don't know, like I guess I was actually pretty stagnant in my life because I was so comfortable. And because I thought, okay, this is it. Like I have it figured out. Like this is the person. And so, if we get along and we're both this certain way, then I have no problem staying the way that I am because it works for my life, right? So it didn't feel like it at the time, but it was actually holding me back in ways that I didn't see. So, like I said, the breakup triggered this really intense time in my life, and I didn't understand it, and it just felt, I mean, if anyone has ever felt like just utterly lost and confused and just, I don't know, it's just a horrible feeling. And there was just a really deep darkness. But so the dark within my dark, I accessed certain levels of myself that had been like hiding out on me. And it really brought a lot to the surface. So the way that I've kind of like seen like a vision in my head of not only like this experience, but when other people have certain experiences or mindsets that need to be shifted, it's like this part of you that needs growth is actually calloused over. So when you have a callus, like there was something uncomfortable, right? There was tension, and your body, trying to protect you, forms a callus over this area. So it's hard, right? It's for protection. It's literally like hardened skin, right? So when we need growth in that area, we don't really know, because if you touch your callus, you don't feel it really. Like you can kind of feel it. Like for instance, if you touch, I don't know, like for me, I walk around barefoot a lot. So if I touch maybe like the middle of my heel, it feels a lot different, like with my nail, it feels a lot different than if I touch like the side of my foot. It's like, wow, that's that's a big difference, right? So with being calloused, there's no room to grow. Like nothing can get through, nothing can get through to you because you have your callus, your shell of protection. So for me, when I went through that situation, this is a bit graphic, but it was like ripping that skin off, like ripping the callus off of my skin. So it was extremely painful, extremely sudden, extremely unexpected. Literally like felt like skin being ripped off of me, my callus being ripped off. Not fun at all. But here's the thing. I couldn't grow in that space with a callus over me. I couldn't grow fresh skin with the callus over me. So once the callus was ripped off, then whatever like disorder, infection, whatever was going on underneath could then come out, could then see the light of day. It'd been covered by the callus for so long that my brain had normalized it and stuffed it down and pretended that it wasn't there even. But when you rip off the callus, aka when you come into an extremely painful and uncomfortable situation, it forces whatever's underneath the callus to come to the light. And it's actually, it's actually wonderful. And then, because your callus was just, it's not needed anymore, right? It was just for protection. Whatever it was protecting you from is over. Or you're at least further along away from it, or further along in your journey. So when my callus was ripped off, like, right, the infection, the disorder, all of these things get to flow out. And I took my time to clean, right? To clean my insides. To clean what was underneath. To clean what was behind my comfortability. And honestly, like, I'm talking about a breakup, but this could be so many different things. This could be your job. Like, maybe you are super calloused and comfortable, and you've calloused yourself because you don't want to be reminded that this job is actually makes you feel dead inside. So, and there maybe could be something else you could be doing that would make you feel more alive, but you put this naturally, you didn't even do it, right? Like, you've naturally, your subconscious has like formed a callus over this area. So like for me, that was another area, like specifically like the job, like when I was let go from my job, it was ripping a callus off again because I was comfortable. I really liked that job. But when it ripped the callus of comfortability off, it really made me face, did I really want to be at that job? Was that actually good for my health? Was that actually good, like, to be in that environment and with, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, like, was that good for me? So another thing with the callus analogy is that once you clean things out, because when you're cleaning things out, right, like nothing is going to be growing that much while you're cleaning. So you're cleaning, you're making sure everything is good. You're learning in a new way. You're learning how to do things in a new way because you don't have that callus. You don't have any skin over the wound anymore. But when you continue to clean and things are getting flushed out, I'm sorry if this is like too graphic for people, but like new skin begins to grow. Like literally new skin. Because you allowed that callus to be ripped off, whether you allowed it or not. I mean, it's not really a choice sometimes. I guess it can be a choice if we decide to really, truly let go of it or not. But like nothing new was going to grow on that callus except for more callus. Nothing. You literally did not have the chance to grow in that area because it was calloused. So once that's off, once that's cleaned, something new begins to grow. Something that wasn't there before. It may look similar, but it's literally new. It did not exist before. So for me, going through that really dark time, it was honestly so beautiful for me. It was honestly, the day that I was dumped, I look at that as my spiritual birthday. Because that was the start of everything changing for me. That was when I got to the end of myself. And I was like, what is that quote? Like, if you want to get something that you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And I was open. Like, because I didn't have that block in the way anymore, it opened me up in a way that I had never been open before. Like, I've always been decently like connected, but I definitely held myself back in a lot of ways. Like connected, I mean, to myself and to, the spirit and all of these things. But like at that point, when you don't have something blocking you, it forces you to look at things differently, because you literally can't look at things the same, because you literally aren't in the same state. You don't have that block in there anymore. So that's why it's painful, because like you're used to looking at this. It's like, I'm used to looking at this callus. I'm used to feeling it. I'm used to it blocking things for me. And I'm used to living my life this way, this certain amount of guarding, this certain amount of blinding. So when it's gone, it's like you have no other choice but to see things differently. Now you can try to build that callus back up, and like maybe you'll be successful, but it's still going to be different. because you've gone through something. But if you take the time to clean things out and allow it to really heal, because that's what it's doing. Ripping a callus, it's giving you the opportunity to heal what's underneath. You can choose to not do that. That's definitely an option. So maybe the infection like worsens because you're not actually surrendering to, I don't know, allowing the healing to happen. So yeah, for me, that song, The Fruitful Darkness. So it's like I was in this really dark space, but that's where I found my light. The dark within my dark is where I found my light. Like in your darkness, you realize how much of a light there truly is in the world, because you just are. If you don't look for the good and for the light, it feels like you're gonna die. So you find out how to find that light outside of you and inside of you. So the dark within my dark is where I found my light. The fruit became a doorway, and now it's open wide. Like that line is about the fruit of the season. Like when we go through something, the fruit of it is like what you can see you've grown in. Like maybe you're more confident now. Maybe you walk differently. Maybe you've tried like foods that you feel very connected to. Like I don't know what it is, but like the fruits is like the physical, spiritual, and emotional proof of that season. So like while you're in that darkness, like you're developing all this fruit, and like you can't see it sometimes at first because you're still in the dark and it feels like there's no way out, but you're still working on yourself. You're still developing. You're still like, you're not giving up on yourself. You're not abandoning yourself. And so even when you can't see that you're making any progress, you're actually starting to bud fruit. And then that line, the fruit becomes the doorway. So there was no way out, but like the fruit of your labor literally turns into the door. And that's what leads you out. And now it's open wide. Oh, it's so beautiful. Anytime someone is going through, like I'm specifically talking about a breakup, but like honestly, insert whatever situation that just pushes you beyond belief. Maybe you have a really hard relationship with your child. Again, maybe it's getting fired from a job. Maybe it's having your mother-in-law move in with you. Whatever the thing is, it's honestly like I feel excited for that person. Now, like in 2022 and maybe like some of 2021, I feel excited for them because I know what that season did for me. It shifted me like beyond belief. Can't even look at the world the same. It's been the most beautiful transformation, and my brokenness led me there. Like you can't get from point A to point C without going through point B, and B being brokenness. God, that was so perfect. Oh, you can't get to from point A to point C without going through the point B of brokenness. I'm so grateful for my brokenness, for the like situations that have challenged me, have frustrated me, because there's always an other side to that. There's no, like, I'm not going to be stuck in a rut forever, partially because my mindset is, good, and I have, the tools to, like, get myself, like, I have the trust, I feel like, at this point, because, like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm kind of bouncing. A lot of things have happened in my life that have helped me to gain the trust, but nothing more than this past situation. So now it's like, whatever life throws at me, like when I was let go from my job, I was upset, but right in that moment, I was like, okay, this is divine. Something good's going to come of this. Like this happened for a reason. Like the fact that it was less than 2 weeks before my probation. Like I barely, missed it. Like it was like there was so many ways in which it could have gone another way. You know what I'm saying? Like the reason I was let go, like it wasn't even like fully, it wasn't really accurate. And like I didn't feel peace about like fighting for my job at that point. And not because I felt powerless. I felt like instantly like this is divine. This is meant to be. Something good is coming from this. And honestly, a lot of good has already come from it. I don't want to share like everything, but I will at some point. But that brokenness takes us to another level. It takes us to a space, again, that we cannot access with our calloused mind, with our calloused heart. So whatever the brokenness looks like for you today, and maybe it's not a situation you're currently in, maybe it's one that was in the past, look at that and see how that brokenness was actually your blessing. Brokenness is such a blessing if we use it. Now, if we stay in our brokenness and we stay looking down and we stay in our self-pity and we don't clean out the wound, then brokenness stays broken. But it's never too late. There was a song I wrote when I was 18, and it's been coming to mind a lot lately, actually. But it goes like, every second, minute, and hour is a new chance to give up what you think you need. It's never too late to be free. Forgiveness runs like an endless river, and God's arms are open, just hoping that you'll jump in. He's waiting for you. Yeah, so like it comes to mind a lot because sometimes it feels like we've missed our window of opportunity, but it's simply not the case. We can choose to stay in our brokenness for as long as we want. And it's not going to be serving you necessarily to stay in there for a really long time. I mean, sometimes we actually do need to stay in it longer than we would like because it is a part of our healing process. But, there is a difference from someone just wallowing. But we can wallow. We can stay in our shadow. We can stay in our darkness. We can stay in our broken behavior for as long as we want. But literally every single second, every minute, every hour is a new chance. It's like think about dieting, right? Which I'm not really on board with the whole dieting thing. But like think about any change you want to make in your life. But dieting is just like an easy one to think about. And people are like, oh, I had a cookie today, so I have to start over. I'll start tomorrow. And it's like, okay, you had one cookie, my guy. Like you had a really healthy breakfast. You have a really healthy lunch that's packed. You could eat that lunch. And then when you get home, you could still have a good dinner. You just had one cookie. First of all, I don't think we should restrict ourselves from not having a cookie. But just because there's one slip up doesn't mean that all your progress is for naught. Every second's a new chance. Every single second is a new chance to give up what you think you need. It's never too late to be free. It's never too late to be free. And honestly, like specifically with this, me losing my job situation, like that brokenness and like that confusion felt, oh my gosh, like overwhelming. And it felt like I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't feel like I was on the other side of it. I'm like, I'm in the middle of the story. I'm waiting for the climax, like the turning point where it's like, oh, this is why that happened, like the resolution, right? I love resolution of things. I do not do well with things that are not resolved It is not the vibe for the harm. Like, so I do feel like there's resolution now. I'm not ready to share it. But in that space, in that brokenness, being patient with the brokenness and not making what happened mean something about me. Michelle Panning talks about this. It's actually seriously such an incredible podcast. Maybe I'll link it in the show notes. But she's like, nothing means anything. Like, what hurts you is not what actually happened. It's what you're making it mean. So for instance, the job, I was let go from my job. So that's just a simple fact. There was something that happened and I was let go. I can't believe I'm talking about this right now. But so that's what it is, right? That's just a simple fact. I made a mistake. The mistake was freaking blown way out of proportion in my personal opinion. But what am I making that mean about me? Oh my gosh, I'm going to be homeless and die. Like, I'm not a good worker. My bosses always hate me. People always misunderstand me. God, that's a big one for me. Oh yeah. Like, what are you making it mean? The guy you like doesn't text you back. What are you making that mean? He just didn't text you back. That's all that happened. Well, he must think that I'm crazy. He must think I'm super clingy. He must think I'm ugly. It's never about, like, almost always, of course there's hurtful things, but it's not about the fact of what happened. It's about the story that we tell around it. Anyways, I'm a little bit sidetracked from the point of the podcast. I am, but I'm not. It all connects. But yeah, so sit with your brokenness today. I know it's hard. I know it's really hard, especially if you're impatient like me. I'm trying not to speak it out because it's, but I am very impatient. If you know me at all, you already know. And so it is hard to sit there. But I think taking away the pressure of what is this? What are you making this mean? Like, don't make yourself wrong for something. Have grace for what you need in this season. This kind of ties back into the self-care episode from last week, but like, don't make yourself wrong for if you need to lay in bed and watch a movie. Like, it gives me so much anxiety. Like, I feel like I need to lay in bed and watch a movie because I'm feeling extremely overstimulated. I'm like feeling, I don't know if it's part of like my depression, but a lot of times I get dizzy and like I feel drunk, like I feel really loopy. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just, I need to lay down. Then I'll watch the movie and I'll feel so much shame around that. And it's like, because what am I making it mean that I laid in bed and watched a movie at 2 p.m.? What am I making that mean? Wow, Harmony, you're so pathetic. You're such a loser. You didn't have anything better to do. No one wanted to hang out with you. Like, you're just going to lay there. You're so pathetic. Wow, that's embarrassing. You shouldn't tell people about that. That's pretty humiliating, actually. Like, it's not the fact that I laid in bed and watched a movie. It's the fact that my brain comes and attacks me and tells me that it's a problem. Now, I'm not saying we should just lay in bed and watch movies all day, but whatever the thing is for you, think about it. Don't make it mean. Don't make yourself wrong for it. Our brokenness is beautiful. Think about a situation today where you were completely broken and fruit came out on the other side of that. And I'm sure you can think of something. If you sit with yourself, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, breathe into it. Which my dad told me saying that is new agey, but he said he's cool with it, so shout out Rodney. Anyways, be excited. Be excited about your brokenness. Be excited when something breaks you and pushes you to a point that you have never been before. It is terrifying and amazing. It is so hard to be in the middle of that, But it is so freaking rewarding to eat the fruit of your labor on the other side. And there's joy in the depths. There's joy in the darkness. There's joy in the brokenness. You do not have to wait until you're in the fruit side to experience that. Okay? Rip a callus off today. Much love to you all. Mwah. I appreciate you listening. If you like this podcast, you can share it with a friend. I love that. I love it when people share it with their friends and then like it all like reaches back to me. It's really cool. And I just want to help people in the way that I've been helped. And yeah, so if you feel like this would be helpful to somebody, maybe someone's in a brokenness season, send it along. You can rate this podcast on the Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe. You can financially support the podcast in the show notes if you feel it. Yeah, so have an amazing day and listen to The Fruitful Darkness by Trevor Hall and embrace your brokenness because your brokenness is a blessing. Bye.